Is it recording? Yes. Okay. Hi there. This won't be taking very long just because um I haven't done much since yesterday. And oof. But anyways, looking at the what I have to do still, I'm shoving this figure over to the left a little bit to avoid the tangent with the wall of the archway there. All right. Let's assume these two are birds. This guy has some kind of beak. It is Thursday today, and I went to work this morning. I taught a class. It's a big day for me. I came home and I was really tired, so I went back to sleep. And then I woke up and I thought, oh, I better get cracking on that page. It's called having a work ethic. All right. Um, we're almost there. Clothing folds. This is just one big sort of robe gown looking thing, so there's not a lot of predictable folds here, and I'm not doing a super great job with them, it turns out. But it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I do slightly regret. I'm looking at this my Lynx character here, and I gave her a little bit more realism that I think I'm going to use elsewhere in the book. So I think instead of using those cat eyes, it's just the regular eyes. All right. Now I've got this character. Just because I shoved this character forward, I'm going to have to do the same. Tell you what, let's do it this way. We're going to grab the pencils and just give it a nudge. Make it a little bit bigger, give it a nudge. It's got to either overlap or be clear completely from the archway. In this case, we're going to overlap. Otherwise, you end up with a compositional problem. Maybe this one's like a bear. So the game that sort of inspired me with all this is a board game called Everdell. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it. And with Everdell, I really enjoyed that stupid game. You have um, 4 seasons: spring, summer, winter. No, yeah, spring, summer, winter, and fall. And the characters are all animals, and there's like a king and a doctor. There's um, a fool at one point. That's supposed to be a barefoot. Come on now. It's bare feet. The postman. All these different characters. And the goal of the game is you're supposed to build this like kind of little foresty town, which is cool. It's cool. Um, but the cool idea I was inspired to look. You have these little cards that um, with all the different characters on it, and I had a sort of daydream that it would be nice to build this bigger world of animal characters and tell a big story with it. I'm also kind of inspired by um, The Magicians, Lev Grossman. You ever read The Magicians? So you may have seen the absolutely abysmal show that they made of this, but the book is really good, and the book is inspired by Narnia. And the premise of the show is it's all about this sort of uh, Hogwarts-like situation. This will be a dog where there's a school and everything. But what's much more important is Narnia, or in the case of the magicians, it's not really Narnia, it's called something else. But the whole world gets kind of created from the destruction of a previous world. And this is the case in Narnia too. In the Book of Narnia, Jadis destroys her world. Jadis is the White Witch through something called the deplorable word, and it completely ends the one world at the Wood Between Worlds. And I think it's Magician's Nephew in Narnia, where they create a whole new world. And then, of course, in the C.S. Lewis version, it's beautiful and lovely, and it's this almost religious allegory with Aslan coming down and singing the world into existence, and then taking on the deceiver, which is Jadis. Um, and the way they handle this in The Magicians is there's this really cool part where there's a collapsing world in that, or I can't remember what the name of the world is in The Magicians, and this tiger woman comes through and she's dying, and as she dies, the new world gets created. And it's this other magical world. It's really cool. All right. So that also was kind of an influence, at least on the Book of Ruin. So in this story that I'm trying to create, that's what the Book of Ruin is. The Book of Ruin is kind of the origin of this world and how it ends up kind of populated with all these animals. Because if you watch Zootopia, Zootopia is kind of cool, but it sort of posits this impossible universe where all the animals, like the sloths work at the DMV and all that stuff. The bus pulls up and there's little tiny doors for the little mice creatures. And somehow the predator animals and the domestic animals all live more or less peacefully together. I found that kind of inspiring. All right, this wasn't as bad as I thought it would be as far as how hard it is to do. All right, I'm gonna. That's definitely what was on my mind as I was creating this. A new world with new rules for creation and destruction, and a world that could die. Like that's one of the most important parts of the other story is that destruction is as possible as creation is. So these characters go on this quest to find this accidentally left behind book that's in the hands of um, a destructive group. A group that starts out as sort of this holy religious group, but it turns out they're kind of destructive. They're self destructive, but with the power of Book of Ruin, they could be really destructive. You know what I mean? They could be way out there. All right, this is life size or actual size. The details are kind of ringing through. I'm gonna have to do all kinds of, like, these walls will not be just flat white. There's gonna have to be some texture and maybe even some decoration in there. I got to think about each one of these species too. Like, which one is this one gonna be? Oh man, how about I don't know, a raccoon? Well, that's the other thing is, when you're coming up with, it's more of a koala. What does a raccoon's ears look like? I'm gonna give them kind of pointed ears. If you ever read Black Sad or seen Black Sad, more people have seen it than have read it. It's foreign language. Um, the characters in Black Sad are cats. They're cat people, or at least the main character is a cat person. I have not read it actually. I've only seen it. But when you're doing something like that, you have the really cool liberty of getting to decide and design, you know, why the characters are whatever way they are, and what are the rules for these species. All right, I don't know if that screams raccoon, but let's hope it does. The sad thing about um, all this attention that we're going to put on there, it's mandatory. You have to put this kind of attention in, but none of these characters are important. I think this is window dressing. This is all. The whole purpose of this scene is to sell the idea that she's sneaking through the monastery undetected. So we have to show that the costume, the holy symbol, like that's important. These are important details. And it's important to show that the way they walk with a lot of humility as they're cruising through this thing. I know I just got through doing Bee Strangers, which is all animal characters too. So if you're going, oh, is this guy obsessed with animals? Not really. I have all kinds of stories. It's one of those things you don't get to really decide what story is going to happen to you right then and there. I mean, you get inspired by what you get inspired by, and um, because of my quest, which is 1,000 pages, the goal here is just to continue to just continuously be cranking out stories. Like you'll notice there was not a day like that I stopped after Bee Strangers. I couldn't afford to. I mean, I stopped for one day to do pre-development and stuff like that, but it's I had the ideas for it because everything's going on simultaneous to everything else. You can only focus on one thing at a time. I don't know if we need any action lines or just show them walking through. This one, I don't think we even have to show the species. We can just show the edge. Okay, let's take a look. Without the pencils. All right, we got the pencils gone and we got the guidelines for where the edges of the wall start and end. This whole area is opened up. This needs to be finished up. There we go. Bloody revenge. There we go. All right, that's more than I expected to get done. This is sort of a carpet or the edge of a tile. Maybe there's a tile floor or something. I think it'll be a carpet. And if we know that that's the edge of the wall, then we can have a sort of implied tile carpet here. Let's make it a carpet. There we go. With some guidelines here. Well, let's do some shields on the wall or some holy symbols. And one up here. Something like that. That one's not quite right. Oh, contour lines, cross contour lines become really important. Just watch that Kim Jong-gi video. Ooh. And these very fine lines to show that there's something outdoors. And even our textures can follow the cross contour lines. Just as texture follow, like shadow is texture, or texture is shadow. Which one is it? Is texture shadow or is shadow texture? This is an Alphonse Dunn thing. So you go, okay, the light is coming in from the windows. So the shadows, like if we were to do a hard shadow, like that, the light's not that bright, and we know it's not that bright. So you kind of map out the areas where the shadow would be, and that's where you put the texture of the carpet in the following the cross contour lines. Now this one doesn't have as much because he's not standing directly in front of a window. This is just stippling. And I'm about to mess with it a lot more because I'm going to put some zip tone, some screen tone on this. Oops. Hey now. Hey now. Hey, baby. I want her eyes to be a little bit more. Okay. These little pock marks are good for stone. Or needs a darker tone on that roof area. All right, I think we got our first panel. Only took me 23 minutes. All right, so all right, there's our establishing shot, and then we want to show Falora breaking away from the procession. Here she is about to pick the lock, and then she goes in, and then I even have a page after this, so um, we're on our way. Um, all right, please like, follow, and subscribe, and stay tuned on Saturday. There will be Drive-In Saturday, which is our casual draw show. Good times. Sometimes on a casual draw show, you don't even have to talk. You can just draw. I just realized I have my light on the whole time. Oops. There we go. I didn't need that. It's probably causing problems the whole time. All right. Talk to you later. I said I'd talk to you later. I'm moving my mouse and it's not working. All right. There it goes.